Chapter 169, Chapter 117, Sixth Grade Opportunity, Obtaining the Cyan Lotus Earthfire. Another hour passed. With Fan Wei's help, a simple wooden house was added to the valley. For a cultivator, building a house was indeed too easy. In the whole valley, the two wooden houses stood side by side. One belonged to Jiang Fan and Su Weiwei, and the other belonged to Fan Wei's family. Although the two wooden houses were very close, with the power of the Silence Talisman, there was no worry of being disturbed by the neighbors. Boom tilde tilde. At this moment, a message surged from deep within Jiang Fan's sea of consciousness. Escaped from the shanty town, killed a group of tribulation cultivators, avoided a deadly tribulation, you gained 3,000 luck points and one sixth grade opportunity. What? Sensing this message, Jiang Fan's eyes suddenly lit up, feeling very excited. He had not expected that merely escaping the shantytown would earn him so many luck points. So one can imagine how dangerous it would be to stay in the shantytown. Not to mention those vicious tribulation cultivators, even the cultivators from the Five Elements Pill sect alone. No one knew what was in the minds of those sect cultivators. According to the domineering methods of the sect cultivators, if Jiang Fan were still in the shantytown, it might have been a fatal outcome. Therefore, fleeing the shantytown quickly to avoid this war was a very wise choice. Although the 10,000 Beasts mountain range was indeed very dangerous, with demons and demon beasts rampant, he carried with him many exorcism talismans, enough to fend off the attacks of nocturnal demons. So in the short term, hiding deep within the 10,000 Beasts mountain range was very safe. At least he would not be affected by the war. To even gain a sixth grade opportunity, I wonder what kind of opportunity it is. Jiang Fan clenched his fist. Previously, he had obtained many opportunities, but most were 8th grade and 7th grade opportunities. If it's a 6th grade opportunity, it might already be at the foundation establishment level. Once obtained, it would be immensely beneficial for him. Thump. Thinking of this, he gently tapped the light spot of opportunity deep within his sea of consciousness. Instantly, a message, like a tidal wave, surged into the depths of his sea of consciousness. 3 days later, at midnight, go southwest for 10 miles to a cave in order to obtain the 6th grade opportunity. Receiving this message, Jiang Fan felt quite satisfied. Although he didn't know what the 6th grade opportunity was, it would become clear in 3 days. In the blink of an eye, 3 days passed quickly. Jiang Fan and Fan Wei's family stayed in the valley, watching the clouds surge. Because it was in a remote location, they were not affected by the war. But they occasionally noticed some loose cultivator who had escaped from the Cyan Forest market. These loose cultivators were all dusty and grim-faced. It's terrible, the Cyan Forest market is really terrible. The entire market was completely overrun by the Five Elements Pill sect. And the treasures inside were all plundered by the Five Elements Pill sect. Those disciples of the Great Sun Sword sect fled in panic. Even 2 foundation establishments died. The entire Cyan Forest market was almost razed to the ground, and the grand array covering it was completely destroyed. Those loose cultivators who wanted to exploit the situation were even worse off. Once they encountered disciples of the Five Elements Pill sect, it was almost always a kill first, ask questions later situation. Any tribulation cultivator who tried to rob was killed by the Five Elements Pill sect. It was simply not worth the risk at all. Many loose cultivators lamented. After all, the Cyan Forest market had stood for hundreds of years, having gone through countless hardships and dangers. But who would have thought? It was destroyed by the Five Elements Pill sect in the blink of an eye. Destroying a place is easy, but rebuilding it would take an unknown amount of time. Those loose cultivators who thought they could take advantage and profit richly found the Five Elements Pill sect to be rather stingy. They simply did not want the loose cultivators to pick the peaches. Once they encountered a loose cultivator, it would be a slash and burn policy. Only a few loose cultivators who entered the Cyan Forest market managed to survive. Now the entire Cyan Forest market was scattered with unknown numbers of corpses. Not only was the market destroyed, even the shantytown was completely destroyed by the aftershocks of the battle between the Foundation establishment cultivators. That battle caused countless deaths and injuries. Hearing this, Fan Wei felt extremely fortunate. Thankfully, he listened to his wife's advice and fled the shantytown in time. Otherwise, he would have followed in the footsteps of those loose cultivators. At that time, he would have gained no benefits and died in vain. Then why did the Great Sun Sword sect and the Five Elements Pill sect go to war? There must be a reason. Jiang Fan asked. Of course it's about interests. It said the Great Sun Sword sect not only discovered a crimson flame iron or vein, but also found a spirit stone or vein. Such gains made the Five Elements Pill sect very envious, and they wanted a share. But the Great Sun Sword sect wouldn't agree to such a thing, so negotiations completely broke down. Some disciples of the Great Sun Sword sect even took the initiative to kill some of the disciples of the Five Elements Pill sect. The conflict between the two sects completely escalated. Because of this, the Five Elements Pill sect decided to attack the Xian Forest Market in retaliation. As far as I know, this event alarmed the Golden Core Genren of both major sects. Now the two Golden Core Genren plan to fight it out and determine a winner. Someone with well-informed news immediately explained the ins and outs of this matter. After all, this wasn't something secretive. Chapter 170, Chapter 117, 6th Grade Opportunity, Acquiring Xian Lotus Earth Fire /2. Once a great battle breaks out, its reasons naturally become exposed. The wars between cultivation sects are mostly over grudges or the struggle for benefits. A crimson flame iron or vein, coupled with a spirit stone or vein, is indeed enough to incite a major conflict among Golden Core sects. If any Golden Core sect were to acquire these two or veins, they wouldn't have to worry about financial income for centuries. So no cultivator would be willing to give them up. If that's the case, what will happen to Xian Forest Market? Fanwei asked worriedly. After all, a cultivation market is extremely important for loose cultivators. Even if residing in the market's shantytown meant being exploited by the Great Sun Sword sect. The problem is, without the market, they wouldn't be able to purchase spirit rice, elixir, talisman, magical artifacts, and other cultivation resources, which is a major blow to them. Moreover, with the market's protection, many loose cultivators could gather together to jointly fend off demons at night. If the market is gone, numerous loose cultivators may face the danger of demons. They may not survive in the 10,000 Beasts mountain range. Not sure, but anyhow, after Xian Forest Market was breached, people from the Five Elements Pill sect ran off long ago. Xian Forest Market has already turned into ruins. It's said that the Great Sun Sword sect still wants to rebuild Xian Forest Market. But at least they'd have to wait until the war between the Great Sun Sword sect and the Five Elements Pill sect ends. Who knows when the war between the two Golden Core sects will end? Many loose cultivators said helplessly. Their home gone just like that, leaving them powerless. As loose cultivators, facing the war of Golden Core sects, they are too powerless. Xian Forest Market just disappeared like that. Listening to this, Jiang Fan felt heavy-hearted. After losing Xian Forest Market, he lost a channel through which he could acquire cultivation resources. Without the help of elixirs, spirit medicines, and other resources, it's difficult to quickly improve cultivation. It can only rely on daily arduous training. This will greatly reduce cultivation efficiency. But there's no other way, since the Great Sun Sword sect and the Five Elements Pill sect have fought over cultivation resources. These weak loose cultivators can only drift along with the tide. What do you plan to do next? Fan Wei couldn't help asking. Originally, we thought about going to live in another market. After all, given the vastness of the 10,000 Beasts mountain range, Xian Forest Market isn't the only one. Through years of development, there are at least 100 cultivation markets in the 10,000 Beasts mountain range. The problem is, the nearest market to us is at least several thousand kilometers away. Such a distance is really too long. And it's within the 10,000 Beasts mountain range, where demon beasts and demons run rampant. With our strength, we simply cannot traverse thousands of kilometers across the 10,000 Beasts mountain range. Because of this, we still plan to stay and build a temporary settlement. We just hope the war between the two Golden Core sects ends soon, so Xian Forest Market can be rebuilt. Many loose cultivators discussed. They naturally want to live in other cultivation markets. But the distance is too far. The journey is fraught with dangers. Based on Qi cultivation stage, it's really impossible to handle the numerous dangers en route. Perhaps halfway through, they'll face total annihilation. So instead of risking dying halfway, it's better to stay here and continue living. At least they're quite familiar with the surrounding environment. They know where is dangerous and where is safe. If the war between the two golden core sects ends, Xian Forest Market can be rebuilt. So where are you planning to live? Jiang Fan asked. We feel the valley where the two of you live is suitable. The spot is secluded and has a water source. Therefore, we're also planning to build wooden houses nearby as a temporary settlement. Moreover, if many loose cultivators gather, they can jointly fend off dangers. Hopefully fellow Taoists won't mind. This group of loose cultivators has already decided to build wooden houses in this valley. After all, such settlements are quite rare. Of course we won't mind. Fellow Taoists willing to reside here is beneficial for us too. After all, everyone can support each other and jointly fend off demons and demon beasts. Fan Wei said generously. Although loose cultivators are mixed, unclear how they behave, given the current situation, gathering loose cultivators together is the most appropriate choice. Gathering a large number of loose cultivators at least can counter the ubiquitous demons and demon beasts in the 10,000 Beasts mountain range. If encountering dangers, they wouldn't have to face them alone. More importantly, he can't refuse the requests of these loose cultivators. So he could only agree reluctantly. Thank you, fellow Taoist fan. We're probably going to reside here for some time. Many loose cultivators smiled slightly. In the dead of night, Jiang Fan silently left the valley. Following the direction indicated by the 6th grade opportunity, it wasn't long before he unleashed the power of the light body talisman and quickly arrived at an unnamed mountain and entered a cave inside. After entering the cave, he proceeded forward and finally reached its deepest part. Boom tilde tilde. At this moment at the cave's depths, a cluster of blue flames was fiercely burning. Its appearance was like a cyan lotus. It emanated a faint cyan light. Under the cover of the cyan flame, one's heart demon seemed to vanish, achieving mental clarity and peacefulness. As if all worries were eliminated entirely. Wait, is this the cyan lotus earth fire? Seeing this cluster of cyan flames, Jiang Fan's pupils contracted. Although he knew that a 6th grade opportunity was certainly extraordinary, he never imagined he would encounter the cyan lotus earth fire in this cave. It's important to know, cyan lotus earth fire is one of many anomalous fires in the cultivation realm. This fire's power is unfathomable, with immense destructive capabilities. Once it erupts, it's akin to an earthquake, akin to a volcanic eruption. Not only that, it is also an anomalous fire that assists in cultivation. If one can fully control and subdue it, they can use the cyan lotus earth fire to clear their heart demons, enhancing their comprehension, which is incredibly profound. This is absolutely one of the anomalous fires that many alchemists desire most. Countless alchemists want to find an anomalous fire but are helpless. But unexpectedly he found it. Even if not used, just preserving this anomalous fire and selling it would fetch an unimaginable price. Normally, for a talisman master, anomalous fires aren't very useful. But this excludes talisman masters of the primordial talisman sect. Especially for talisman cultivators who cultivate the mixed element talisman scripture, anomalous fires are heaven and earth's wondrous treasures. If this cluster of cyan lotus earth fire can be integrated into the fireball talisman, its power will enhance tenfold, even several dozen times. Jiang Fan clenched his fists, feeling exceedingly excited. To him, this is absolutely an unimaginable opportunity. The fire power contained in the previous fireball talisman was merely ordinary flame spiritual power. Although quite powerful, facing stronger foes, that would not suffice. But if integrated with cyan lotus earth fire, it would be completely different. The fireball talisman's power would see a huge increase. At that time, unleashing the fireball talisman's power would be unleashing the cyan lotus earth fire's might. This would enhance the fireball talisman's power tenfold at least. Simultaneously, it could lead to the fireball talisman's evolution. Enhancing the life talisman's power involves improving cultivation, increasing skill level. There is also a third way, that is, by integrating various wondrous things from heaven and earth. If the fireball talisman integrates cyan lotus earth fire, it will no longer be a lower grade talisman. It might even evolve into a Tier 2 talisman or Tier 3 talisman. Its power can amplify endlessly. Jiang Fan's eyes glowed with excitement. Thinking of this, he stepped forward without hesitation and activated the power of mixed element talisman scripture. Instantly, the primordial talisman within his elixir field and sea of chi emerged. This was a spherical talisman, rotating like a planet. In the next moment, it generated immense attraction, akin to a black hole. Boom tilde tilde. In an instant, this thread of cyan lotus earth fire was devoured by the primordial talisman, becoming part of it. At this moment, the fireball talisman's power saw a remarkable increase. The symbol patterns of the once simple fireball talisman now displayed numerous cyan talisman symbols. Thus made the fireball talisman far more complex. Perhaps this was no longer a fireball talisman, but a cyan lotus earth fire talisman. Chapter 171. Chapter 118. Talisman Transformation, Cyan Lotus Earth Fire Talisman, Encounter with Great Sun Sword Sect Disciples. Go! Thinking of this, Jiang Fan's heart stirred, and he immediately activated the Cyan Lotus Earth Fire Talisman on his body. Instantly, a wisp of cyan flame emerged from his fingertips, transforming into a small fireball. Like a bullet. Boom tilde tilde. In the next second, he propelled this cyan flame bullet, instantly shooting it out, striking the distant cliff wall. A huge crater appeared instantly on the entire cliff wall. Numerous rocks began to be burned by the cyan flames, surprisingly turning into magma. The destructive power of these flames was truly too strong. Compared to the mundane fire of the previous fireball talisman, the power of the cyan lotus earth fire had increased by countless times. The difference between the two was truly immense. He even felt that with the power of the cyan lotus earth fire, he could slay a late-stage chi cultivator. Sixth grade opportunity. Is this a sixth grade opportunity? Absolutely wonderful. Jiang Fan clenched his fist, feeling incredibly excited. He felt that obtaining the cyan lotus earth fire was even better than advancing to the sixth layer of chi cultivation. For enhancing his combat power, it was even greater. Having mastered the cyan lotus earth fire, he felt that the destructive power of the fireball talisman had increased tremendously. It vaguely possessed the might of a Tier 2 talisman. If I want to continue enhancing the power of my life talisman, perhaps I could find numerous heaven and earth spiritual objects and integrate them into the life talisman, but heaven and earth spiritual objects are not easy to find. Jiang Fan touched his chin. Undoubtedly, this is also a cultivation method of the primordial talisman sect. However, among talisman cultivators who wish to enhance the power of their life talismans using this method, there are basically too few. After all, not everyone can obtain heaven and earth spiritual objects. If one lacks sufficient destiny, they probably would never have a chance to even see the shadow of heaven and earth spiritual objects. Not to mention obtaining them. The power of the cyan lotus earth fire is not only destructive. I estimate it's also highly lethal to demons. If other demons dare to come, perhaps I can use the power of the cyan lotus earth fire to eliminate them. Jiang Fan sensed the cyan lotus earth fire burning hotly deep in his elixir field and sea of chi, instantly giving him a full sense of security. Undoubtedly, this was a trump card on his body. If he unleashed the might of the cyan lotus earth fire, he could even kill a late-stage chi cultivator. But unless necessary, he would never offend such a level of a cultivator. For him, stable cultivation is more important. Let's go back. After briefly sensing the power of the cyan lotus fire talisman, Jiang Fan decided not to stay here any longer. After all, this is the wilderness, and no one knows what they might encounter. Returning to his home is much safer. Swish. In no time, Jiang Fan used the power of the light body talisman and quickly returned to the wooden house. He had obtained the cyan lotus earth fire and felt extremely joyful. To celebrate this significant harvest, he needed Su Weiwei 7 times to feel satisfied. Of course, Su Weiwei's physique also became increasingly unfathomable. She could fully withstand Jiang Fan's intense demands. Instead, doing this seemingly also enhanced Su Weiwei's cultivation efficiency, accelerating her growth. Several days passed. Jiang Fan completely settled down in this nameless valley. During this period, there were occasional large numbers of loose cultivators coming to live here. It seemed as if they were treating this place as a previous shantytown. The number of loose cultivators had already exceeded 200 to 300. Moreover, the number of loose cultivators seemed to be continuously increasing. But this couldn't be helped. As the week Banding together for warmth was almost instinctive. Now that the Xian forest market was destroyed and turned into ruins, loose cultivators virtually had nowhere to go. As a result, many loose cultivators naturally scattered throughout the 10,000 Beasts mountain range, forming settlements. And this nameless valley was just one of those settlements. Boom! At this moment, Jiang Fan's heart stirred, and he opened the virtual panel on his body. Name Jiang Fan. Life chart, great blessings equal to heaven attribute. Survive deadly situations, reap rewards afterward. Lifespan 120. Spirit root, earth spirit root. Luck points 4560. Cultivation technique, soaring snake technique incomplete, 7th layer cannot be improved. Cultivation technique, mixed element talisman scripture 1st layer. Life talisman, Xian lotus earth fire talisman beginner, light body talisman mastery, conceal breath talisman mastery, protective talisman mastery, golden light talisman mastery. Realm 5th layer chi cultivation 70%. Profession, middle grade talisman master 70%. Instantly, a series of data was displayed above. What a pity! Those tribulation cultivators were all paupers. They didn't have many treasures on them. Jiang Fan felt a bit regretful. Previously, when escaping from the shantytown, he encountered several tribulation cultivators, but he easily killed them. Their storage bags naturally fell into his hands. But unfortunately, the only thing they had on them was some low-grade elixirs. And these low-grade elixirs didn't have any effect on him, so he gave them all to Su Weiwei. Of course, the greatest value on them was the spirit stones. This brought the number of spirit stones on him to 6,000. Not only did this replenish the spirit stones used to purchase spiritual liquids, but it also caused his wealth to skyrocket further. If the Xian forest market was still around, such a large number of spirit stones could definitely buy many middle-grade elixirs, and even some top-grade elixirs. Purchasing spiritual liquid wouldn't be a problem. Unfortunately, after losing the Xian forest market, even with so many spirit stones, he couldn't spend them at all. Chapter 172, Chapter 118, Talisman Transformation, Xian Lotus Earth Fire Talisman, Encounter with Great Sun Sword Sect Disciples, Part 2. Damn war! If it were still a time of peace, I could buy a large amount of spiritual liquid. I wouldn't have to spend so much time condensing spiritual power. It wouldn't take long to advance to the 6th layer chi cultivation. Jiang Fan felt quite helpless. Clearly, the arrival of the war had disrupted his cultivation plans. But where in the world are things always going your way? Husband. At this moment, Su Weiwei walked over and said, "Recently, the valley seems to have not been very peaceful. It's said that some loose cultivators have been robbed and killed, and the culprits can't be found." Her expression was very heavy. Originally, staying here should have been relatively safe. Unexpectedly, not much time had passed before security began to deteriorate. It can only be said where there are people, there will be trouble. Especially some skilled loose cultivators when they gather together. If there isn't strong power to bind them, murder cases are likely to occur. After all, some loose cultivators have bad tempers. Once they argue with others, they might suddenly lash out. Really, a bunch of people who can't be helped. Upon hearing this, Jiang Fan was rather helpless. He also knew that with so many loose cultivators gathered, there would definitely be considerable security issues. However, he hadn't expected robbery and murder cases to appear so quickly. It can only be said that this group of loose cultivators is unsettled wherever they go. Just be careful during this period. Don't go out unnecessarily, Jiang Fan said in a solemn voice. He knew there would definitely be a chaotic period now. After all, when so many loose cultivators gather, conflicts will surely arise over interests. For example, some have better positioning for their cabins, some monopolize water sources, some litter, and some disturb the people, leading to tension and disputes over interests. Only after some time, when the loose cultivators negotiate interest distribution and are willing to compromise, will the conflicts cease. Su Weiwei nodded. She also felt it was better not to go out casually during this period. The number of loose cultivators was increasing, and the security was very unsafe. Several days passed. The valley seemed to have quieted down a lot, with fewer conflicts. Perhaps these loose cultivators had come to an understanding. Now was not the time to engage in battles. Everyone was a cultivator trying to make a living in the 10,000 Beasts mountain range. If they really fought, it wouldn't benefit anyone. Of course, Jiang Fan's life was also very peaceful. In the morning, he refined talismans. In the afternoon, he went out to practice the skill level of his life talisman. At night, he stayed home to cultivate, increasing the primordial spiritual power within him. Although the speed of increasing spiritual power was much slower without the aid of elixirs and spirit medicines. But it was still increasing. It wouldn't be long before he accumulated enough spiritual power to open up the 6th meridian, thus advancing to the 6th layer Qi cultivation realm. In the afternoon, Jiang Fan arrived in a forest a few miles outside the nameless valley. This place was desolate, with few human traces. It was considered an excellent place to practice the power of the life talisman. On normal days, he would practice his 5 life talismans here, especially after the fireball talisman transformed and evolved into the cyan lotus earth fire talisman. To increase the skill level of the life talisman, he had spent much thought. Finally mastered this life talisman. Jiang Fan took a deep breath. After days of bitter cultivation, he had initially grasped the abilities of this life talisman. Originally, he had raised the skill level of the fireball talisman to mastery level, close to perfection level. But after evolving into the cyan lotus earth fire talisman, clearly, mastering this life talisman was much harder. Even after such a long time mastering it, it was only at the entry level. But even so, the entry-level cyan lotus earth fire talisman was countless times stronger than the perfection-level fireball talisman. The two were simply not on the same level. Swish. When he activated the cyan lotus earth fire talisman, a cluster of cyan flames appeared, shaped like a lotus. Just the power of this cluster of cyan flames was not comparable to the previous fireball. Once released, it might have the power to boil seas. Unfortunately, the primordial spiritual power within his body couldn't support deploying it numerous times. It was estimated that, after merely 3 releases, his primordial spiritual power would be completely exhausted. Unless his cultivation improved further, increasing spiritual power within him. Only then could he release the cyan lotus earth fire talisman more times. After all, it did not belong to the Tier 1 talisman level anymore. It was already a Tier 2 talisman. Swish. Just then, a sword light suddenly appeared in the distance and quickly fell from the sky, crashing onto the ground with force, kicking up dust everywhere. As the dust dispersed, a figure emerged, who turned out to be a sword cultivator carrying a long sword on his back. But the situation of the other person was not good. Seemed like he had gone through a bloody battle, with his body covered in wounds and dripping blood. If not treated urgently, he might die. Wait, this kid seems to be Han Duan, a disciple of the Great Sun Sword Sect, the sword cultivator at 7th layer Qi cultivation. In an instant, Jiang Fan's pupils contracted. He immediately recognized the true identity of this man in cyan clothes. He had encountered him once at the Cyan Forest Market. His notorious reputation had echoed through the Cyan Forest Market. With a bad temper, tremendous strength and backing, nobody dared to provoke him at the Cyan Forest Market. Sometimes he would kill a loose cultivator because he didn't like them. But he did not expect Han Duan to appear in this place. And it seems like he's being pursued and has fallen into trouble here. Kid, do you have any healing elixirs on you? Hand them over immediately, and I won't mistreat you. At this time, the man in cyan clothes, Han Duan, saw Jiang Fan and sensed the aura of 5th layer Qi cultivation on him, instantly relieved. At least this guy couldn't be his opponent. Even though he was seriously injured, he wasn't something that a 5th layer loose cultivator could compare to. He immediately started ordering Jiang Fan around. After all, in the Cyan Forest Market, he was used to being domineering. Moreover, he was protected by a Foundation establishment elder, and no one dared to provoke him. Fellow cultivator, I don't have any healing elixirs on me. If there's nothing else, I'll leave now. Jiang Fan had no interest in entangling with the other, clearly seeing he was being pursued. Moreover, during this time, the Great Sun Sword Sect and the 5 Elements Pill Sect were embroiled in fierce warfare. He was merely a loose cultivator. There was no need to get involved in such trouble. After saying these, he intended to leave. Kid, you want to die, don't you? Dare to take a step away, and I'll stab you to death. Simply ungrateful. Immediately hand over all the elixirs you have. Polite words to you, and you really think you're important. Upon hearing these words, the man in cyan clothes, Han Duan, sneered coldly. He held a long sword with a fierce killing intent and sword chi pervading him. Even though badly wounded, he wouldn't hesitate to slay this foolish loose cultivator. Being able to serve someone like him, a disciple of the great Sun Sword sect, was the other's good fortune. Yet he dared hinder him, really thinking he wasn't irritable. Alas, what's the point? Since you want death, I'll make it happen for you. Jiang Fan stopped and began to laugh, looking calmly at the man in cyan clothes, Han Duan. What do you mean? The man in cyan clothes, Han Duan, suddenly felt a chill in his heart, sensing the terrible killing intent oozing from this youngster. It seemed he wanted to harm him. If it was just this, it would be fine. This youth seemed capable of posing a threat to him. But how was that possible? A mere fifth-layer loose cultivator. Threaten him, a seventh-layer cultivator, pure nonsense. Even so, he became instantly alert. This loose cultivator was ungrateful, so he'd act first, kill him. But just then, Jiang Fan acted. Chapter 173, Chapter 119. So what if they are sect disciples? Kill them all the same. Cyan Lotus Earth Fire Talisman. As soon as he made his move, Jiang Fan unleashed his strongest attack. After all, the opponent was a seventh-layer Chi Cultivation cultivator, whose cultivation was significantly stronger than his own, even though Han Duan was currently in an injured state. But the problem is, a wounded beast is the most dangerous, and no one knows how many tricks the opponent still has up his sleeve. So he had no intention of testing the waters. Boom tilde tilde. A tremendous amount of primordial spiritual power merged into the Cyan Lotus Earth Fire Talisman, and strands of cyan flame surged out from his body, converging at his fingertips, quickly condensing into a cyan fireball. Inside the depths of the fireball, a lotus flower appeared, containing intricate flame runes. Of course, Jiang Fan's primordial spiritual power was also rapidly being consumed. After all, activating the Cyan Lotus Earth Fire Talisman required consuming a great deal of spiritual power, something ordinary cultivators couldn't afford to expend. Whoosh! In an instant, the cyan fireball shot towards Han Duan like a bullet. Its speed had already reached the speed of sound. A mere loose cultivator dares to attack me. You're courting death. Sensing this power, Han Duan was both shocked and furious, wishing he could kill this brat immediately. He never imagined that the useless loose cultivator he had casually beaten to death at the Cyan Forest Market could now dare to attack him. Is this a case of the tiger falling from grace and being bullied by dogs? Surely these loose cultivators are all lowly scum that should be eradicated. His heart was filled with endless rage and hatred. But now he had lost the initiative, so he could only activate his spiritual power to trigger the high-grade magic robe, and instantly a shield of spiritual energy enveloped his entire body. This was the defensive power of the high-grade magic robe. Even an attack from a late-stage Chi Cultivation cultivator could be resisted. He thought this little late-stage Chi Cultivation cultivator couldn't possibly hurt him. Even the shield of his high-grade magic robe couldn't possibly be broken. What? But Han Duan soon realized he was wrong, and gravely so. This was not an ordinary flame, but a heaven and earth anomalous fire. Its destructive power was already approaching the level of Chi cultivation perfection, or even foundation establishment. With a puff, the spiritual energy shield formed by the high-grade magical treasure couldn't withstand it for even a moment. It was almost instantly burned away, as easy as smashing tofu. The next second, the cyan fireball struck his body. It's over. Han Duan's face changed drastically. He could clearly sense the destructive power contained in the cyan flames, capable of burning anything, not something a mere seventh-layer Chi cultivation cultivator like himself could withstand. He had severely underestimated this mysterious loose cultivator. He couldn't even manage to scream. His entire body was encompassed by the cyan flames, beginning to burn fiercely. Within a mere breath, both his high-grade magic robe and his corpse would be reduced to ashes. This was the might of the Cyan Lotus Earth Fire. Is this the Cyan Lotus Earth Fire? Once it hits, even a late-stage Chi Cultivation cultivator would be burned to death. There's simply no way to resist. Jiang Fan was quite satisfied with the power of the Cyan Lotus Earth Fire, as expected from a 6th-grade opportunity. After acquiring this Cyan Lotus Earthfire, his trump card grew significantly more powerful. Even though he was now only at the 5th layer Qi Cultivation, he could still kill a 7th layer Qi Cultivation cultivator. As long as the power of the Cyan Lotus Earthfire talisman hit, the enemy was almost certainly doomed. However, it was unfortunate that because the Cyan Lotus Earthfire's power was too great, it instantly burned the high-grade magic robe on the opponent's body. If he could obtain it, that high-grade magic robe would be worth a lot, at least 1,000 or 2,000 spirit stones. But that was irrelevant. After all, his own life was the most important. If he hadn't killed Han Duan immediately, the treasures on the man would never have fallen into his hands. That kid is being hunted. The situation is dire. It seems staying here is not advisable. I must leave here quickly. Jiang Fan waved his hand, immediately picked up the storage bag Han Duan left behind, and then hurriedly left the place. Simultaneously, he also used the Conceal Breath talisman to hide his presence, leaving no trace of his aura. Whoosh! In the blink of an eye, he swiftly left the place, as if he had never been there. Just after Jiang Fan had left for a while, 2 or 3 figures quickly arrived at the scene. They bore the insignia of the 5 Elements Pill sect, clearly disciples of the sect. What happened? After arriving here, the aura of the Great Sun Sword sect disciple Han Duan suddenly disappeared. A disciple of the 5 Elements Pill sect frowned. He had been using a tracking technique, continuously following Han Duan's aura. He had thought he was about to catch up, but unexpectedly he lost track of the target. He probably ran away by now. In any case, that kid is backed by a Foundation Establishment clan, supported by a Foundation Establishment elder. It's normal for him to have some cards up his sleeve. It seems that the kid managed to escape. Another disciple of the 5 Elements Pill sect said, with great reluctance. Originally, he planned to kill Han Duan to earn sect contribution points. Unexpectedly, the opponent managed to escape. Forget it, don't chase a cornered beast. That Han Duan seems to have some skills. Who knows what traps he set for us? Chapter 174, Chapter 119. So what if they are sect disciples? Kill them all the same /2. Perhaps he's already joined up with other disciples from the Great Sun Sword sect. It's better to give up chasing this kid. Another disciple from the 5 Elements Pill sect nodded. He decided to give up pursuing Han Duan. Because in the 10,000 Beasts mountain range, the terrain is exceedingly complex. Moreover, it's still during the battle between the 2 golden core sects. Each sect disciple is using every means necessary to take down the opponent. Perhaps Han Duan's act of fleeing is meant to lure them into a trap. Previously, some fellow disciples lacked caution and fell into the enemy's trap, ending in tragic deaths. Swish, swish, swish. A few disciples of the 5 Elements Pill sect felt helpless. They carefully checked the surrounding aura, but still found nothing. Ultimately, they chose to abandon tracking. Yet even so, Han Duan's life lamp in the Great Sun Sword sect suddenly extinguished. Therefore, the sect cultivators immediately confirmed news of Han Duan's death. This infuriated Foundation Establishment elder Han Jiguang, who believed the cultivators from the 5 Elements Pill sect killed Han Duan. But in the warfare between 2 golden core sects, even a Foundation Establishment elder couldn't decide their victory. He was helpless as well. His only option was to go to the battlefield to vent his anger by killing disciples from the 5 Elements Pill sect. Evidently, Jiang Fan's unintentional actions further intensified the war between the 5 Elements Pill sect and the Great Sun Sword sect. Both sides engaged with fervor, and the casualties soared. But this had little to do with Jiang Fan. Soon after, Jiang Fan quietly returned to his home. Of course, no one knew what had just happened. "Husband, you're back." Seeing Jiang Fan return, Su Weiwei happily greeted him. Her voluptuous body pressed against Jiang Fan's. A fragrant scent wafted around. Undoubtedly, her Taiyan virgin body has grown increasingly powerful over these days. Every move, every smile contained endless allure. Simply irresistible. You didn't encounter any trouble at home, did you? Jiang Fan held the beauty in his arms, asking concernedly. He was indeed worried that Su Weiwei might face danger alone at home. Before leaving, he had left numerous talismans. Even if attacked by a tribulation cultivator, using these talismans, power could repel the enemy. Moreover, the place where he cultivated wasn't far from the valley. He could return at any time. Nothing happened. During the daytime, this place is still very safe. No loose cultivator dares to make a move. Su Weiwei sweetly said. Obviously, those loose cultivators are not inherently demon cultivators, killing indiscriminately. Without benefit, no one wishes to act. Besides, they choose their targets carefully, picking a soft spot, seeking out the weak. Jiang Fan's reputation was quite good. He had taken down several tribulation cultivators, showing formidable strength. So generally speaking, if anyone doesn't wish to court death, they dare not trouble Jiang Fan. What a pity that if the six-winged poison bee had hatched, you wouldn't need to worry about your safety. Jiang Fan said with a hint of regret. He initially thought the six-winged poison bee would hatch soon, not expecting it to take so long. It's okay. After all, it has been sleeping for a long time. Even if awakening is needed, it will still take some time. Besides, based on my estimation, it won't be too long before it awakens. Su Weiwei confidently said. After all, she had been communicating with the six-winged poison bee all these days. Their minds had already reached a unified level. She could also perceive the current status of the six-winged poison bee. That's good. Jiang Fan nodded, holding Su Weiwei as he headed directly into the bedroom. He vigorously engaged with Su Weiwei 5 or 6 times before finally concluding. Night fell. Su Weiwei, rarely tired, was already sound asleep. Jiang Fan then went to the nearby cultivation room. Boom! At that moment, a message resonated from the depths of his consciousness. You slew Han Duan from the Great Sun Sword sect, prevailing with weakness over strength, overcoming a lethal tribulation, and obtained 3,000 luck points. Receiving this message, Jiang Fan's eyes gleamed with a trace of excitement. He had anticipated that defeating Han Duan would yield considerable luck points. Yet he hadn't expected to receive 3,000 luck points in one go. This indeed amounted to a windfall. If combined with the luck points obtained previously, the total luck points he possessed had now reached 7,560. An astonishing figure. This also proved Han Duan truly possessed significant luck. Eliminating the opponent led to the acquisition of a large amount of luck from him, thus enhancing the opulence of his own luck. By the way, there's still this guy's storage bag. Jiang Fan's heart stirred. He eagerly opened Han Duan's storage bag. After all, Han Duan wasn't just a 7th-layer Qi cultivation cultivator, but also an inner sect disciple of the Great Sun Sword sect. It said his background was quite profound, coming from a cultivation clan, a foundation establishment seed, obtaining family support. It was imaginable that such a person's wealth must be impressive. This harvest was certainly not small. Amazing, truly an inner sect disciple of the Great Sun Sword sect, indeed wealthy. Actually 2,000 spirit stones. Seeing the treasures in the storage bag, Jiang Fan's eyes lit up, feeling very excited. A typical loose cultivator having dozens, even 100 spirit stones, was already quite good. But Han Duan, he actually stored 2,000 spirit stones. It's imaginable his wealth level, absolutely unmatched by regular late-stage Qi cultivators. And this was still after purchasing magical artifacts, elixirs, talismans, and other treasures. This sufficiently demonstrated the wealth of sect disciples. Undoubtedly, the wealth disparity in the cultivation realm is huge, far greater than it was in his previous life. The true top cultivators hold 70 to 80% of the cultivation realm's wealth. Currently, my wealth has reached 8,000 spirit stones now. With so many spirit stones, who knows how many elixirs can be bought? It's a pity that now, even with money, I can't spend it. Jiang Fan felt very helpless. Obviously, the wealth of typical sect disciples couldn't possibly compare to his own. Unfortunately, now he can't spend the money he has. It's all because the 2 golden core sects are at war now, resulting in no market now. His channels to buy elixirs are cut off. However, he wasn't too anxious. Once the war ended, the spirit stones would naturally have their uses. This was merely a matter of time. It's safe to say that no matter where one goes in the cultivation realm, spirit stones are indeed the true valid currency. Oh, there are actually quite a few elixirs. Middle grade gathering spirit pills, 5 of them, 3 bottles of white ginseng pills, 3 bottles of Qi recovery pills, and 3 bottles of detoxification pills. Besides these, there are 30 lower-grade talismans and 13 middle-grade talismans. Jiang Fan tallied up the treasures in the storage bag, a veritable array of wonders. Any loose cultivator who sees this couldn't resist their heartbeat fluttering. This truly was a huge harvest. However, to Jiang Fan now, these treasures are just as they appear. Not much that could greatly assist him. Wait, this seems to be spiritual liquid. There are actually 15 drops of spiritual liquid. Did this kid buy all the spiritual liquid from the Xian Forest Market? Suddenly, Jiang Fan noticed some special jade bottles containing drop after drop of spiritual liquid. This was definitely heaven and earth spiritual objects. He never anticipated such a huge harvest this time. 15 drops of spiritual liquid, that's worth 4,500 spirit stones. Of course, given the current situation, even with spirit stones, it's impossible to buy spiritual liquid. So it emphasizes the preciousness of these spiritual liquids. With these spiritual liquids, then advancing to the 6th layer Qi cultivation realm was merely a matter of days. Han Duan truly is a wealth-bringing boy. With these spiritual liquids, who knows how much cultivation time I can save? Jiang Fan clenched his fists. No wonder so many loose cultivators want to become tribulation cultivators. Once successful, it results in overnight wealth. However, this path carries significant risk. If encountering unprovocably powerful individuals, it becomes a dead end. After all, in the end, what goes around comes around. Chapter 175. Chapter 120. Advancing to 6th layer Qi cultivation, engraving the body-stabilizing talisman. At this moment, Jiang Fan did not hesitate at all. He opened one of the jade bottles and swallowed it immediately. Instantly, he felt a drop of spiritual liquid enter his stomach, warming his entire body as if he were soaking in a hot spring. Every inch of his body felt incredibly comfortable. Even though this wasn't his first time consuming spiritual liquid, the sensation was wondrous every time. Not enough, just 1 drop of spiritual liquid is absolutely not enough. Jiang Fan's eyes glistened with a hint of excitement. He consecutively took out several jade bottles and opened them one by one. This time, he consumed 4 drops of spiritual liquid in one go. Including the one from before, that's 5 drops of spiritual liquid. For an ordinary cultivator at the 5th layer of Qi cultivation, doing this is purely seeking death. After all, an ordinary 5th layer Qi cultivator's body cannot contain such a vast amount of energy. If too much energy is devoured at once, the entire elixir field sea of Qi and meridians would burst. This is what it means to be unable to bear the supplement. However, Jiang Fan is not an ordinary cultivator. He has cultivated the mixed element talisman scripture, needing spiritual power and energy 10 times more than his peers. So refining 5 drops of spiritual liquid at once is nothing at all. Rumble tilde tilde. In an instant, Jiang Fan operated the mixed element talisman scripture, and 5 drops of spiritual liquid were immediately transformed into a vast amount of energy, surging into the depths of the elixir field and sea of Qi, devoured and absorbed by the primordial talisman. Then quickly converted into strands of primordial spiritual power. What normally required months or even years of diligent cultivation to increase, the primordial spiritual power now came flooding in, with the spiritual power in the elixir field and sea of Qi rapidly increasing. As the primordial talisman continued to operate, these primordial spiritual powers surged into the depths of the body's meridians. 70%, 75%, 80%, 85%. Strands of primordial spiritual power deep in the meridians were increasing frantically. In just 1 hour, the primordial spiritual power inside filled 5 meridians completely. Primordial spiritual power was surging through the meridians like a river. Quick, the efficiency of converting spiritual power is incredibly fast. No wonder it's spiritual liquid. It truly cannot be compared to ordinary elixirs. With a large amount of spiritual liquid to assist, there's simply no need to waste time on condensing spiritual power. Jiang Fan felt deeply moved. Compared to before, his cultivation efficiency now was just incomparable. Even the cultivation efficiency of a celestial spirit root cultivator was nothing like this. For a cultivator, the assistance of external forces is indeed quite important. However, acquiring spiritual liquid is not an easy task. Moreover, it is extremely expensive. 300 spirit stones per drop, enough to make any loose cultivator sigh helplessly. Even sect disciples and clan members cannot consume spiritual liquid for long periods. So obtaining 15 drops of spiritual liquid at once was indeed a great gain. Now is the time. Jiang Fan sat cross-legged on the ground, sensing that his cultivation had reached the perfection of the 5th layer Qi cultivation level. Centered around his body, the heaven and earth spiritual Qi surged towards him, seemingly forming a vortex of spiritual Qi. Thud. The next second, a vast spiritual Qi poured into his body, converting into strands of primordial spiritual power that, like a flood, rushed into the 6th meridian. With just one collision, the bottleneck of the 6th meridian was instantly cleared. 6th layer Qi cultivation. Undoubtedly, his cultivation had effortlessly advanced to the 6th layer of Qi cultivation. Finally advanced. Jiang Fan clenched his fists, excitement evident on his face. He sensed that, after advancing to the 6th layer of Qi cultivation, his internal primordial spiritual power increased by at least a half. Simultaneously, the power of his spiritual sense also increased significantly. Compared to before, his cultivation certainly improved drastically. Within the shantytown, a 6th layer Qi cultivation level was already considered a top expert. Should he advance one more step to become a 7th layer Qi cultivator, he could live within the market area. There are still 10 drops of spiritual liquid left. They should also significantly enhance my cultivation. Perhaps reaching the 7th layer Qi cultivation realm isn't too far off. However, after advancing to the 6th layer of Qi cultivation, I can now inscribe the 6th life talisman. Jiang Fan sensed that the primordial talisman in the depths of his elixir field and sea of Qi had increased substantially compared to before, allowing him to inscribe the 6th life talisman. Clearly, every additional life talisman represented a qualitative improvement in strength for him. Attack, defense, auxiliary, speed types of life talismans are already there. The 6th talisman should naturally be a control-type talisman, because cultivators are also extremely fast. If you can't lock onto the opponent, powerful attacks are worthless. So the 6th talisman should inscribe the body-stabilizing talisman. Jiang Fan rubbed his chin. He had long decided what his 6th life talisman should be, a control-type talisman, the body-stabilizing talisman. The power of this talisman comes from wind spiritual power. Once activated, it congeals into threads of airflow, binding the enemy like ropes, rendering them immobile. Because the ropes formed by wind spiritual power are silent, invisible, and traceless, enemies often find it hard to detect, being caught unawares and becoming immobilized. When encountering an enemy, first use the body-stabilizing talisman to control them. Then unleash the Cyan Lotus Earth Fire Talisman, or the power of the Golden Light Talisman. The enemy would be utterly defenseless, killed in an instant. Chapter 176. Chapter 120. Advancement to 6th layer Qi cultivation, engraving body-stabilizing talisman /2. Jiang Fan increasingly felt that the power of the body-stabilizing talisman was indeed extraordinary. Especially when combined with the powers of other talismans, it became practically invincible. Undoubtedly, this was the strength of the master of 10,000 talismans. They could simultaneously wield different talisman powers, thus stacking the powers of the talismans. The effect it could produce was not as simple as 1 + 1. Boom tilde tilde. Thinking of this, Jiang Fan did not hesitate at all and immediately consumed 2,000 luck points from his body. Instantly, he sensed that he had entered the realm of unity of heaven and man. His understanding was infinitely enhanced. At this moment, he easily manipulated the threads of primordial spiritual power in his elixir field and sea of Qi, beginning to inscribe patterns of talismans on the primordial talisman. Not knowing how much time had passed, the surface of this spherical talisman immediately showed the patterns of the body-stabilizing talisman, emitting a cyan light. The body-stabilizing talisman was completed. Instantly, this talisman seemed to transform into a cyan vortex, and the wind spiritual power between heaven and earth surged in, burrowing into the depths of the primordial talisman. This also greatly increased the power of the primordial talisman. A full 6 patterns of life talisman flickered on the primordial talisman, and this made the primordial talisman even more profound and complex. It was like a ball of 10,000 laws. Given time, it would surely be able to inscribe countless talismans, bearing all the symbols in the world. Stop! Jiang Fan was moved, and he activated the power of the body-stabilizing talisman on himself. He targeted a few mosquitoes flying outside the house. Between heaven and earth, threads of airflow condensed, seemingly transforming into invisible ropes. Instantly, 7 or 8 mosquitoes were bound, unable to move their bodies, just as if they had been immobilized. Not bad. Jiang Fan felt quite satisfied, as he had just been testing the waters. Moreover, this was just the entry-level body-stabilizing talisman. If he continued to cultivate, by then with just a thought, even late-stage chi cultivation stage cultivators wouldn't be able to move and would be at his mercy. One must say, the potential of the body-stabilizing talisman was enormous. If used at a critical moment, it was certainly a killer move. Thinking of this, he willed, and immediately opened the virtual panel on himself. Name Jiang Fan. Life chart. Great blessings equal to heaven attribute, great danger but blessings to follow. Lifespan 120. Spirit root, earth spirit root. Luck points 5560. Wealth 8,000 spirit stones. Cultivation technique, soaring snake technique incomplete, 7th layer cannot be improved. Cultivation technique, mixed element talisman scripture 1st layer. Life talisman, Cyan Lotus Earth Fire Talisman Entry Level, Light Body Talisman Mastery, Conceal Breath Talisman Mastery, Protective Talisman Mastery, Golden Light Talisman Mastery, Body Stabilizing Talisman Entry Level. Realm 6th Layer Chi Cultivation 1%. Profession Middle Grade Talisman Master 70%. Jiang Fan looked at the series of data above and felt quite satisfied. Since he consumed 2,000 luck points and inscribed the 6th Life Talisman, the luck points were only slightly over 5,000, but this consumption was worth it. After all, the power of the body-stabilizing talisman was indeed extraordinary. If used properly, it was sure to be a great asset. A few more hours passed. Jiang Fan finally stabilized his cultivation at the 6th layer of Qi cultivation, the primordial spiritual power within his body, starting to flow continuously through the 6 meridians like mighty rivers. At the same time, the primordial talisman deep within the elixir field and sea of Qi spun continuously, containing infinite mysteries. At this moment the sun outside also rose, arriving at the 2nd day. Husband. At this time Su Weiwei also woke up, came to the cultivation room and looked at Jiang Fan in surprise. Why are you in the cultivation room? You weren't cultivating all night, were you? That's right, I felt something yesterday evening, so I came to cultivate. And I also made some breakthroughs in my cultivation. Jiang Fan smiled slightly, immediately sharing his joy with Su Weiwei. Congratulations, husband. Hearing this, Su Weiwei was overjoyed, looking at Jiang Fan with a face full of admiration. She had stayed in the Cyan Forest market for so long, but was very well aware of the difficulties in cultivation. In Cyan Forest market, there were many loose cultivators, and sometimes decades would pass without much breakthrough in cultivation. However, her man, how long had he been in Cyan Forest market? Now he had become a 6th layer Qi cultivation stage cultivator. Given time, her husband becoming a foundation establishment, or even a golden core or nascent soul cultivator, would be quite normal, and in the future he would surely be an ancestor-level figure in the cultivation realm. Since that's the case, let's celebrate. Jiang Fan held Su Weiwei's delicate body, pressing her onto the floor. You rascal! Su Weiwei's cheeks turned red, her eyes seductive. The two also had a vigorous battle. In the blink of an eye, several more days passed. After advancing to the 6th layer of Qi cultivation, Jiang Fan evidently felt much more confident. With such strength, he dared not say he could rampage among the loose cultivators. At least few could harm him now. However, despite this, he did not become arrogant, continuing to cultivate Loki as before. After all, his current strength was far from enough to dominate the 10,000 beasts mountain range. At least he had to become a foundation establishment cultivator to be considered a big shot. A mere Qi cultivation stage cultivator was just a small fry in the cultivation realm, not worth mentioning. But Jiang Fan soon discovered that more and more loose cultivators seemed to be arriving at the valley. The population was steadily increasing. Damn, the war between the Great Sun Sword sect and the 5 Elements Pill sect is growing more intense. The two sides are truly fighting fiercely. It's said that several markets nearby were affected by the battles of the two major golden core sects and were destroyed. Some refugee loose cultivators said with a sense of concern. Isn't that right? It's said that an inner sect disciple of the Great Sun Sword sect, Handuan, was killed by a disciple of the Five Elements Pill sect, which completely enraged the Foundation establishment elders of the Great Sun Sword sect, causing them to launch attacks on the Five Elements Pill sect. Handuan, that arrogant and domineering junior, it said he was a Foundation establishment seed of the Han family, now dead in the war. No wonder the Han family is going crazy, as such a Foundation establishment seed is not easy to nurture. The war between these two major golden core sects isn't our business, but now it's affecting us, causing many cultivators in the markets to be anxious, not knowing what to do. Damn it, I thought the war between these two major golden core sects would stop at a certain point, but it's growing more and more intense. When will it end? It can't possibly go until both sides are badly hurt, right? It's impossible for both sides to be badly hurt, as the 10,000 Beasts mountain range is not just home to two major golden core sects. Besides them, there are other golden core sects. If they really exhaust each other, it would only benefit other sects. You're right, up till now, the golden core genren of the two major sects haven't truly intervened, so currently, it's just small skirmishes. Indeed, if they really wanted full-scale war, the golden core genren would have taken action long ago. The question is, what are the golden core genren of these two sects thinking? Why haven't they taken action yet? Are they planning something? Numerous loose cultivators discussed. They originally thought that the battle between the two major golden core sects wouldn't last too long. It's not like similar things hadn't occurred before. But those were just local wars. Once the battle reached a certain point, both sides would naturally stop and negotiate peace. After all, for these cultivators, if there was no certainty of completely eliminating the other, there was no need to forge a deadly feud easily, as their aim was to become immortal. There was no need to fight to the death. In the cultivation realm, fighting to the death was unnecessary. What mattered were human relations. Handuan's death instead triggered a war between the two sects. Hearing this news, Jiang Fan blinked his eyes, feeling speechless. He didn't expect his inadvertent actions had instead made the war more chaotic. However, he also decided that, should he die, he would never leak this information. Otherwise, the Great Sun Sword sect would surely come looking for trouble with him. Fortunately, he acted cautiously and was protected by destiny. It's likely that the disciples of the Great Sun Sword sect and the Five Elements Pill sect wouldn't know he was the main culprit. Chapter 177, Chapter 121, The War is Over, Rebuilding Xian Forest Market. 2 months later. As the war between the Great Sun Sword sect and the Five Elements Pill sect intensified, the Nameless Valley, on the other hand, gathered more and more loose cultivators, with numbers exceeding 1,000 people. After all, every other place was engulfed in war. A slight lack of caution could lead one into the war between the two golden core sects, thereby leading to untimely death. On the contrary, by hiding here, one could avoid the aftermath of the war. As a result, the Nameless Valley became more lively. It was just like a former slum area. It even spontaneously formed a marketplace for the loose cultivators. Some people sold spirit rice, others sold talismans, elixirs, magical artifacts, and so on. In short, the Nameless Valley became increasingly bustling. Although occasionally conflicts would arise between loose cultivators, leading to robberies and murders. But overall, it was not a major issue. It was also considered a paradise for loose cultivators, free from the exploitation of the golden core sects. At this moment, in a secret cave somewhere. This was also the place where Jiang Fan usually practiced his life talisman. As far as the 10,000 Beasts mountain range was concerned, similar caves were countless and not particularly difficult to find. Finally, I've raised the skill level of the light body talisman to the great success realm. Jiang Fan smiled slightly. With a thought, he activated the power of the light body talisman, and his entire body seemed to be enveloped in an air current. At this moment, his body slowly rose into midair. Undoubtedly, this was the symbol of the great success realm of the light body talisman, facing the wind. You must know, ordinary cultivators can only fly after advancing to become Foundation establishment cultivators. Soaring above the sky. This is the symbol of a Foundation establishment cultivator. But now, the great success realm of the light body talisman could achieve an effect similar to that of a foundation establishment cultivator. Of course, it naturally couldn't match the ease and freedom of a foundation establishment cultivator. It merely allowed Jiang Fan's body to float in midair. Nevertheless, this was already quite remarkable. Especially with the help of the air currents, his speed had significantly improved compared to before. Obviously, the great success realm of the light body talisman provided substantial assistance to him. If it could be enhanced to the perfection level, then the power of the light body talisman could allow him to travel with the wind. At that time, even a foundation establishment cultivator would only achieve the same. But it's not just the light body talisman that has been elevated to the great success realm. The conceal breath talisman, golden light talisman, body stabilizing talisman, and protective talisman have all reached the great success realm. Jiang Fan narrowed his eyes. The reason for the rapid advancement of his life talisman skill level was undoubtedly due to the consumption of luck points. He spent a total of 3,000 luck points. Only then could his life talisman rapidly improve. Otherwise, it was uncertain how long it would take for him to increase his life talisman skill level. But regardless, it was all worth it. The abilities of the great success realm conceal breath talisman are even more amazing. If the mastery level conceal breath talisman could achieve seamless integration, leaving no trace, then the great success realm conceal breath talisman could reduce one's sense of presence. In other words, even if standing in front of others, they wouldn't notice your existence. They might even naturally ignore you. Jiang Fan had experimented with the great success realm conceal breath talisman before, walking through the marketplace of loose cultivators, yet not a single one noticed his presence, as if he were invisible. Even if others used their spiritual sense to probe, they would naturally overlook his existence, as if he were a part of nature. Undoubtedly, such an ability was exceptionally powerful and useful, especially in the wild when encountering demon beasts and demons. If the power of the conceal breath talisman was used, enemies would ignore him and pass by, thereby avoiding danger. If it could advance to the perfection level, the ability would be even more terrifying. By then, it could merge with nature. Even existences more powerful than himself would find it difficult to detect his tracks. However, the great success level protective talisman isn't simple either. If the mastery level protective talisman could form a spiritual energy shield covering the whole body, then the great success level protective talisman could form a triple-layer spiritual energy shield. In this way, defense is increased many times over. Even if an enemy could break through one layer of the spiritual energy shield, breaking 2 or 3 layers wouldn't be so simple. With a thought, Jiang Fan activated the power of the protective talisman on himself. Immediately, 3 layers of primordial spiritual energy shields appeared around his body. His whole body was enveloped in spiritual energy shields, tightly sealed without any vulnerabilities. He felt that even a deadly blow from a late-stage Qi cultivation cultivator couldn't break through his triple-layer spiritual energy shield. Undoubtedly, if it were cultivated to the perfection level, it could then form a 9-layer spiritual energy shield. By that time, it would be an invincible defense during the Qi cultivation stage. Even an early-stage foundation establishment cultivator would likely need to expend considerable effort to breach a 9-layer spiritual energy shield. Now he felt like he was carrying a turtle shell. His sense of security enhanced greatly. Moreover, the power of the great success realm golden light talisman is also quite terrifying. The destructive power and attack strength need not be mentioned, akin to the sword Qi on a sword cultivator. More importantly, this talisman could simultaneously unleash 9 rays of golden light. Previously, the mastery-level golden light talisman could only unleash a single golden light at once. Now, being able to unleash 9 rays of golden light at once allows him to fight many foes at the same time. Chapter 178, Chapter 121, The War is Over, Rebuilding Xian Forest Market /2. Even if faced with a group attack, he wouldn't worry about anything. With a thought, 9 beams of golden light struck out simultaneously, the sword Qi crisscrossing, capable of instantly killing the enemy. And it would be as effortless as blowing dust. There's also the 6th life talisman, the body stabilizing talisman. Although this is a newly inscribed life talisman, its skill level has been ground to the great success realm. If it were at the entry level, the body-stabilizing talisman could only condense 3 strands of invisible wind spiritual power ropes to bind the enemy's movements. At the skilled level, it could condense 9 strands of invisible air currents. At the mastery level, it could condense 27 strands of invisible air currents. Now at the great success level, it can condense 64 strands of invisible air currents. Undoubtedly, this is an improvement of a qualitative nature. Once the power of the body-stabilizing talisman is unleashed, 64 strands of invisible air currents would instantly appear on the enemy, binding their limbs and head, as if the entire body were enveloped in a spider web. They simply wouldn't be able to move. The power of stabilizing surpasses the previous level by many times. If it could be cultivated to the perfection level, it could condense over 100 invisible air currents at once. In this way, it would be invincible during the Qi cultivation stage. No matter how strong the Qi cultivation stage cultivator is, they cannot escape the power of the body-stabilizing talisman. What a pity, the Cyan Lotus Earth Fire talisman is still at the entry level, still unable to reach the proficient level. Jiang Fan felt a bit regretful. But this is an unavoidable matter. The level of the Cyan Lotus Earth Fire talisman is simply too high. It cannot be compared to other life talismans. To improve its skill level naturally isn't easy and requires more time. At this moment, Jiang Fan's heart stirred, and he immediately opened the virtual panel on himself. Name Jiang Fan. Life chart, great blessings equal to heaven attribute, a narrow escape guarantees future blessings. Lifespan 120. Spirit root, earth spirit root. Luck points 2560. Wealth 8,000 spirit stones. Cultivation technique, soaring snake technique incomplete, 7th layer cannot be improved. Cultivation technique, mixed element talisman scripture 1st layer. Life talisman, Cyan Lotus Earth Fire talisman entry level, light body talisman great success, conceal breath talisman great success, protective talisman great success, golden light talisman great success, body stabilizing talisman great success. Realm 6th layer Qi cultivation 50%. Profession middle grade talisman master 90%. Immediately, a series of data were displayed, detailed to the point of being exhaustive. Not bad, the cultivation progress has increased quite a bit. Jiang Fan read the data above, feeling quite satisfied. In the past 2 months, apart from improving the skill level of his life talismans, more importantly, the primordial spiritual power in his body also increased quite a bit. The reason his cultivation increased so quickly is naturally thanks to those 10 drops of spiritual liquid. After devouring the energy of 10 drops of spiritual liquid, his cultivation progressed rapidly. To be honest, it's also because his foundation is too deep. If it were an ordinary 6th layer Qi cultivation stage cultivator, they would have probably advanced to the 7th layer after devouring 10 drops of spiritual liquid. However, the energy he requires is too enormous. Just 10 drops of spiritual liquid are entirely insufficient. Even so, he feels his cultivation speed is quite decent. Having come to the cultivation realm for such a short time, he's already cultivated to the 6th layer Qi cultivation stage. Compared to other loose cultivators, he can be considered to be advancing at lightning speed. Whoosh! After another half an hour, Jiang Fan consolidated his cultivation and then returned home. He used the power of the light body talisman, making him as fast as a bird in flight. In no time, he returned to the nameless valley. As soon as he got back, Jiang Fan noticed that all the loose cultivators seemed to be jubilant, as if something great had happened. He couldn't help but step forward to inquire, eager to know what had occurred. Something great has happened. The war between the Great Sun Sword sect and the 5 Elements Pill sect is over, a loose cultivator said excitedly. After all, for loose cultivators, war is never a good thing. If the war could end, they could return to the original market and acquire a large number of cultivation resources. If they stayed in the shanty town, they'd have no chance of obtaining those high-tier resources. Has it ended, really, or just a rumor? Jiang Fan was stunned. He hadn't expected the 2 major sects to end their conflict so abruptly and quickly. He had originally thought it would take several years of fighting. After all, both sides had reached a point of fierce conflict, in a life-and-death struggle. It didn't seem like the war would end. Of course it's true, this news has long spread throughout the 10,000 Beasts mountain range. It said that the golden core Zhenren from both the Great Sun Sword sect and the Five Elements Pill sect made a move. They battled in a mysterious place for 3 days and nights. In the end, neither could do anything to the other. Continuing to fight like this wasn't good for either major sect. Ultimately, it could lead to mutual destruction, allowing other golden core sects to take advantage. So, the two golden core sects decided to shake hands and make peace, even jointly developing the Crimson Flame Iron or Vein and the Spirit Stone or Vein. Many loose cultivators confidently said. After all, they had many sources of information to confirm the news. And events like this couldn't possibly be concealed. I see. Jiang Fan was speechless, unsure of what to say. In the cultivation realm, there really weren't any irreconcilable grudges. It was all about interests. Previously, for the development rights of the Crimson Flame Iron or Vein and Spirit Stone or Vein, the two major sects fought a fierce battle. No one knows how many disciples were killed or injured. But now, in an instant, they've made peace. Undoubtedly, for these golden core sects, the lives of ordinary disciples don't mean much. Even the lives of Foundation establishment elders don't mean much. Only the lives of golden core Zhenren are truly important. They will determine the future and destiny of the sect, and no one can defy or oppose it. However, it must be said that both golden core sects suffered heavy losses this time. It's said that several Foundation establishment elders from the Great Sun Sword sect died. This includes Han Zhiguang, the former Foundation establishment elder of Xian Forest Market. To avenge Han Duan, Han Zhiguang attacked the cultivators of the Five Elements Pill sect heavily. Unexpectedly, he encountered an ambush by the Five Elements Pill sect and died on the spot. Of course, the Foundation establishment elders of the Five Elements Pill sect didn't fare much better. They seemed to have been caught in an ambush by the Great Sun Sword sect, and several were killed. In short, continuing this war would do neither side any good, so it was better to shake hands and make peace. Some loose cultivators seemed very familiar with the inside story of this war, even knowing many details. So they could assert that this war definitely could not continue any longer. If that's the case, will Xian Forest Market be rebuilt? Someone couldn't help asking. Although they temporarily lived here, they still wanted to return to the original Xian Forest Market. One important point is that Xian Forest Market has a Tier 2 spirit vein. That's why the place became a market. If cultivating in Xian Forest Market, the efficiency is naturally higher than in other places. More importantly, in the market, they can purchase various high-tier cultivation resources. After all, loose cultivators are still too weak. Even if they could obtain some demon beast meat, spirit medicine, and rare ores in the 10,000 Beasts mountain range, they couldn't refine middle-grade talismans, top-grade talismans, and top-grade elixirs on their own. Therefore, they still need to rely on the resources of golden core sects. Without these high-tier resources, they cannot advance further. Of course, it will be rebuilt. No matter what, that place is still the best location to establish a market. Moreover, it's so close to the Crimson Flame Iron or Vein. No golden core sect would give up that Tier 2 spirit vein. From what I know, this time the two golden core sects will join forces to rebuild Xian Forest Market. By then, the size of Xian Forest Market will expand by at least 10 times, and more houses will be built. Many loose cultivators were having a lively discussion. Apparently, some loose cultivators had already heard about the rebuilding plans for Xian Forest Market. Everyone was excitedly optimistic. They felt like good days were finally coming. No way, if that's the case, then wouldn't we also have a chance to live in Xian Forest Market? One loose cultivator couldn't help but ask. Previously, population in Xian Forest Market was limited because its area was too small. The scarcity of houses meant even if you had money, you couldn't find a place to live there. If the market were to expand, then loose cultivators would have the opportunity to live in it. Chapter 179. Chapter 122. Six-wing poison bee hatches. Winter arrives. It's probably not that simple to live in the market. After all, building a market isn't for us loose cultivators to live and eat freely. Even if we can actually live there, the price might not be something ordinary loose cultivators can afford. One loose cultivator sneered, "There's no such thing as a free lunch in this world." Even if Xian Forest Market really expands successfully, those cultivators who can actually live there will still be very few. Most cultivators can only live in the slums. That's fine, living in the slums is better than the wilderness. It's still better than us not being able to buy high-tier cultivation resources now. The question is, when can Xian Forest Market be fully repaired? Many cultivators asked curiously. They were eager to return to Xian Forest Market immediately. After all, the cultivation environment where Xian Forest Market is located is truly excellent. And there lies a Tier 2 spirit vein. It's not comparable to these barren fields. Most crucially, it's safe. Nothing can compare to safety. Not sure, but even if it's fully repaired, it'll probably take a month or two. After all, it's easy to destroy, but building is very difficult. A loose cultivator said grimly. He felt that he would still need to stay at this temporary settlement for a while. For now, it's just something to look forward to. 1 or 2 more months are needed. If that's the case, then it might be troublesome. You haven't forgotten, have you? Winter is coming. One loose cultivator said with a very serious expression. What? Upon hearing this, everyone's expressions changed involuntarily. Those cultivators who recently arrived at the 10,000 Beasts mountain range may not understand. But those old hands who have been in the 10,000 Beasts mountain range for a long time know very well the horror of the winter there. In winter, the 10,000 Beasts mountain range is covered in snow, and temperatures drop, becoming extremely cold. If it were just that, fine, but more importantly, the demon beasts of the 10,000 Beasts mountain range become more ferocious, attacking human cultivators' settlements to get more prey. Previously, one could rely on the Xian Forest Market's array power to fend off the demon beasts' attacks. But now, without the array from Xian Forest Market, they can only rely on their own strength to resist demon beasts. When facing a large amount of demon beast attacks, there's no telling how many people could die. Looks like we need to prepare for winter. Many loose cultivators had very grim expressions. After gathering information, Jiang Fan quickly returned home. My husband. Upon hearing the sound outside, Su Weiwei immediately welcomed him. He saw a palm-sized dark golden bee perched on her head, impressively the 6-winged poison bee. A terrible evil qi and killing intent emanated from its body. The tail was nurturing a poison needle. Once an enemy gets hit by the poison needle, they're almost certainly dead. The venom is so potent, it's basically incurable. Obviously, after these 2 months, the ancient strange insect 6-winged poison bee finally hatched. And more so, it didn't only hatch. As a queen bee, it's also birthed 3 soldier bees. Each soldier bee is only thumb-sized, with densely packed dark golden patterns, growing 6 wings. With a slight tremor of their wings, they move almost like a stream of light. They are soldiers protecting the queen bee, each courageous and fearless. If anyone dares to harm the queen bee, they'll be attacked fiercely. The poison needles on their bodies shoot out. Usually, enemies are obliterated by the needles without any defense. Whether it's speed or attack power, they are top-notch. This is just after recently hatching. If they can form a nest, nurturing thousands upon thousands of soldier bees, that is when the 6-winged poison bee becomes truly terrifying. But now it's still incredibly vulnerable. It still needs time to develop. Oh, seems the 6-winged poison bee is even more spirited today. There's no issue with their food, right? Jiang Fan rubbed his chin. He sensed that the aura of these 6-winged poison bees was much stronger compared to before. Naturally, their hatching also propelled Su Weiwei's cultivation, allowing her to advance to the realm of 3rd-layer qi cultivation. With their presence, Su Weiwei's safety is further guaranteed. No problem. Raising 6-winged poison bees is simpler than other spirit beasts, because they can find food themselves and bring it back to the queen bee. As long as the queen bee stays by my side, massive amounts of food will naturally be harvested. Su Weiwei smiled. If it were ordinary spirit beasts, she would need to specially find suitable food for them. But the 6-winged poison bee is different. They are omnivorous creatures. They can not only consume flowers and spirit medicine, but also devour demon beasts. All in all, they eat almost anything, making them easy to raise. Furthermore, the newly birthed soldier bees can actively go out to the wild to search for food. Their stomachs are like dimensional bags, capable of storing hundreds of kilograms of food at a time. As their cultivation rises, the food their stomachs can hold increases. Thus, each time they go out searching for food, can consume a significant stretch of time. They are incredibly sensitive to various heaven and earth spiritual objects. The power of the six-winged poison bee can help locate hidden heaven and earth spiritual objects and spirit medicine deep in the 10,000 Beasts mountain range. It's safe to say, worthy of being an ancient strange insect, their capabilities are exceptional. But the six-winged poison bees need to nest. Where will they do that? Chapter 180. Chapter 122. Six-winged poison bee hatches. Winter arrives /2. Jiang Fan curiously asked. If they build a nest inside the wooden house, it would easily get discovered by other loose cultivators. That's not a problem. Previously, I happened to buy a mid-grade magical artifact at the market, a spirit beast bag. I can keep the six-winged poison bees in the spirit beast bag and let them build a nest inside. Although the internal space of this mid-grade magical artifact is not very large, it's enough to sustain through the chi cultivation stage. If I can advance to foundation establishment, then it's enough to switch to a higher-grade spirit beast bag. Su Wai pointed at the spirit beast bag on her body. After all, among many loose cultivators, there are also some who are beast cultivators, contracted to spirit beasts. So finding a spirit beast bag is quite easy. As long as you carry the spirit beast bag, you can carry the nest of six-winged poison bees with you. This way, if she encounters an enemy, she can summon a large number of six-winged poison bees at any time. It seems you've become a qualified beast cultivator. Jiang Fan smiled. Undoubtedly, even if Su Wei were on her own, she could still live safely. Compared to before, it's hard to tell how much her self-defense capability has increased. Still far from my husband. However, husband, I just heard some news that Xian Forest Market seems to be planning to rebuild. Are we going back to Xian Forest Market? Su Weiwei looked at Jiang Fan. No rush, there's still a long way to go. They say it's rebuilding, but it's not certain when it will be completed. Let's wait until Xian Forest Market is rebuilt before discussing it. Jiang Fan naturally wants to return to Xian Forest Market. After all, having such a market means you can buy various treasures. But he prefers to play it safe. Wait until the situation is completely stable. 7 or 8 days later. The experience of veteran loose cultivators was indeed incredibly abundant. A cold wave struck. The entire 10,000 Beasts mountain range quickly entered winter. The sky began to fall into an expanse of white snow, gray and misty. The temperature dropped to at least -10 degrees, and if you were deep in the 10,000 Beasts mountain range, it might reach -20 or 30 degrees. The ground was covered with thick white snow. The original rivers were even frozen. Fortunately, those living in the 10,000 Beasts mountain range are loose cultivators, not ordinary people. Otherwise, just this big snow would freeze unknown numbers of people to death. Of course, for Jiang Fan, it had no impact, because he drew a temperature stabilization talisman. Just one temperature stabilization talisman is enough to make the wooden house warm, keeping indoor temperatures steady. This way, no matter how cold the outside is, it cannot affect the temperature inside the wooden house. Life naturally becomes very comfortable. And this is the greatness of a talisman master, not something that other professions can compare to. However, even so, the lives of loose cultivators began to become difficult. After all, with the snow falling in the 10,000 Beasts mountain range, many demon beasts hid away. Trying to locate the demon beasts became increasingly difficult. Moreover, due to the heavy snow, traveling became extremely challenging. So in recent days, loose cultivators' harvests were very little. Even the demon beasts in winter became increasingly ferocious. After all, many low-grade demon beasts were in hibernation, hiding deep within caves. For those upper-ranked demon beasts, hunting prey became a bit difficult. Hence, some demon beasts began targeting human cultivators. Because every piece of human cultivator's flesh contains enormous energy, with tender meat. Naturally, they are one of the premium prey. Damn it, more and more demon beasts are coming out of the depths of the mountain. Indeed, initially, this was the outskirts of the 10,000 Beasts mountain range where demon beasts were few, but because winter has arrived instead, many demon beasts have come out. Although the increased number of demon beasts is indeed a good thing, as we no longer need to arduously search for them like before, the problem is, the number of demon beasts is too overwhelming, and we're completely no match. Last night, Several demon beasts suddenly appeared in the outskirts of our valley, attacking a few loose cultivators' wooden houses, leading to several families being eaten by demon cultivators, leaving no trace behind. Indeed, I can sense more and more demon beasts are targeting this valley. If this continues, there's a chance demon beasts could launch a large-scale attack on us. Alas, if only Xian Forest Market were still here, even if many loose cultivators gather with the array of Xian Forest Market, no matter how many demon beasts come, we could kill them all without fear. The problem is, Xian Forest Market is no longer here. We don't need to consider such matters. Previously, wasn't it said that Xian Forest Market is about to be rebuilt? When will the reconstruction be completed? Haha, you should all know the way those sects do things, as slow as possible, especially after the war just ended. They still need to recuperate. How could they rebuild so quickly? Many loose cultivators discussed it, faces looking quite grim. They could sense from the depths of the forest that those demon beasts, posing extreme threats, were lurking. At any moment, they might launch an attack. However, these demon beasts also have some degree of intelligence. They know that the threat from these human cultivators is also considerable, so they don't dare to launch a reckless attack. Instead, in the dead of night, these demon beasts secretly ambushed human cultivators. And they succeeded repeatedly. In this case, rather than waiting for cultivators from the Great Sun Sword sect to return, we'd better save ourselves. Otherwise, Xian Forest Market isn't rebuilt yet, and we die at the hands of the demon beasts. Oh, what are your thoughts? We can build walls around the valley to block those demon beasts' attacks. It's useless. Those demon beasts are powerful. Ordinary walls can't possibly stop them. It's better than doing nothing at all. At least it can cause some obstruction to those demon beasts. With a few words, many loose cultivators made a decision. They started building walls around the valley. For cultivators, building walls is quite simple. Some loose cultivators use earth and stone technique, quickly condensing heavy stone walls. Then they pour water over the stone walls. After a night, it can form ice walls. In no time, a wall surrounded the entire valley, leaving only 2 or 3 entrances, making it convenient for cultivators to enter and exit. This also made loose cultivators feel more at ease. At least ordinary demon beasts can no longer easily cross the walls. At this moment in Jiang Fan's house, "Husband, it seems trouble is really coming." Su Huawei's face was very grave as she spoke to Jiang Fan. "What do you mean? Did you notice something?" Jiang Fan asked. "That's right. Earlier, the soldier bees were hunting outside, searching for food. They sensed a large gathering of demon beasts deep in the forest. Undoubtedly, these demon beasts have set their sights on this nameless valley. They could launch an attack at any moment. Such an ice wall might not be able to stop those demon beasts' attacks," Su Huawei said in a heavy tone. As a beast cultivator, she can keenly sense the aura of various demon beasts and spirit beasts, especially the 6-winged poison bees, which act as her eyes, allowing her to detect scenes tens of miles away. Like monitoring drones. That's why she felt this matter wouldn't end so simply. If they don't withstand this demon beast attack, those demon beasts might consider this place as easy prey, turning it into their hunting grounds, launching repeated attacks. In the forest world, the weak are synonymous with sin. If that's the case, then we need to make preparations in advance. Jiang Fan took a deep breath. But he had no plans to leave this nameless valley. After all, even if he leaves here, there's nowhere to go. More importantly, if they leave this place, the outside becomes even more dangerous. There's a chance of encountering more demon beasts. At that time, it might not only be Tier 1 demon beasts, but also Tier 2 and Tier 3 demon beasts. Countless loose cultivators have died in the treacherous 10,000 beasts mountain range. Why do so many loose cultivators prefer to gather here and not go to other markets? It's because the journey to other markets is too long. Moreover, the journey is fraught with countless dangers, not unlike the legendary 81 trials. The death rate exceeds 90%. So it's better to stay here and continue living. There's no need to risk death. However, he wasn't overly worried. After months of arduous cultivation, his strength had significantly increased. Even when facing late-stage Qi cultivators, he wouldn't fear much. If worse comes to worst, he could easily flee with Su Huawei. Chapter 181, Chapter 123, Beast Tide Eruption, Blood-Soaked Battle. In the dead of night, darkness falls and snowflakes are swirling. The temperature drops, ice cold to the bone. From the depths of the jungle, a series of low growls from demon beasts can be heard. In the nameless valley, many loose cultivators cannot sleep. Although their cultivation is low, they can still sense the pervasive atmosphere of killing intent in the air. Each face is tense. Even though there are defensive walls all around, none of them feel any sense of security. If the demon beasts living in the 10,000 Beasts mountain range could be stopped by mere city walls, then the mortality rate of loose cultivators in the 10,000 Beasts mountain range wouldn't be so high. Roar! Just at this moment, a demon beast lets out an angry roar, a tiger roar shaking the heavens, sound waves rolling, causing the land to quake violently, as if a magnitude 3 or 4 earthquake. It's like sounding the charge horn. Hidden deep within the jungle, the demon beasts rush out one by one. Their demon bodies are massive, each at least 5 or 6 meters, even reaching 7 or 8 meters in length. To humans, they're simply colossi. Boom tilde tilde. In an instant, a demon tiger charges forward, a tiger paw lightly swats. The seemingly sturdy city wall instantly shatters, splitting into pieces, immediately revealing a massive gap. Debris flies, snowflakes scatter. Damn it, these demon beasts are coming. Everyone take action together, don't hold back. Seeing this, the faces of many loose cultivators change drastically, hairs standing on end. They can sense the murderous aura emanating from these demon beasts, each one's eyes glowing green, as if they've been starving for an indefinite time. These demon beasts have completely targeted human cultivators as their prey. Immediately, none of the loose cultivators intended to hold back, and they all retrieved their magical artifacts, channeling their spiritual power, launching attacks against these demon beasts. Wind blade technique, ice technique, fireball technique, flying sword technique, and more magic erupts simultaneously, like cannonballs, blasting towards these demon beasts. Boom, boom, boom. These spells hit the demon beasts, causing considerable damage. Some of the weaker demon beasts fall to the ground, breathless and dead. Unfortunately, before those loose cultivators could rejoice, their actions entirely incensed the demon beasts. There are just too many of them. Even though some companions were injured or killed, it's inconsequential. Boom tilde tilde tilde. A demon tiger pounced over. A terrifying tiger paw descended from the sky, struck one of the loose cultivators, immediately leaving the cultivator powerless to resist. The spiritual energy shield of the protective talisman burst. The entire body turned into a pile of flesh, blood-soaked, dying very brutally. A demon snake sprang over, opening its bloody mouth wide, swallowed one loose cultivator whole, as if swallowing a jujube, directly turning the cultivator into food within its belly. A few demon wolves charged over, besieged a loose cultivator, their claws extremely sharp. In just a moment this cultivator was dismembered by the demon wolves, turned into countless pieces of flesh. In an instant, loose cultivators suffered heavy casualties. Throughout the valley, many wooden houses couldn't withstand this destructive force and exploded into pieces. At this moment Fan Wei's family shivered in fear, faces pale. Especially his wife Li Zhou was already scared out of her mind. She hadn't expected to encounter a beast tide. Having escaped the war between Great Sun Sword Sect and Five Elements Pill Sect, but couldn't escape this beast tide. Old Fan, we can't stay here, we need to leave quickly. Li Zhou immediately said. Leave, where can we go? Can't you sense it? The entire valley is already surrounded by demon beasts. We have nowhere to escape now. Those loose cultivators aren't fools. If they could really leave, none would stay here. Our only option is a desperate fight. Fan Wei shook his head, took a deep breath. He knew his family absolutely couldn't escape. Staying in this valley, relying on the power of many loose cultivators, they might still survive. If they really fled outside, surrounded by many demon beasts, then it's truly certain death. Staying here seems very dangerous, but there's no other way. Let's find fellow Taoist Jiang. Fellow Taoist Jiang is powerful, surely can protect us. Li Zhou said with a pale face. Alas, now every cultivator has enough to worry about themselves. Even fellow Taoist Jiang probably can't save us. Better to rely on ourselves. Take them to hide in the basement, hoping to get through this disaster. Fan Wei clenched his fists. He felt that tonight perhaps might be the end for them. But as a father and husband, he definitely cannot shrink back. If he falls, then his whole family is completely doomed. Him? Hearing this, Li Zhou nodded, immediately took the two children into the basement, temporarily hiding away. On the other side, in Jiang Fan's house. Regarding the situation outside, Jiang Fan was naturally well aware. The sudden arrival of the beast tide is a collective disaster for all loose cultivators. If it can't be overcome, I fear all loose cultivators will perish under the demon beasts. Husband. Su Weiwei looked at Jiang Fan with concern. She thought the number of demon beasts was unimaginably large. With the current number of loose cultivators in the valley, they might not be able to withstand this beast tide. Don't worry, although there are many demon beasts, they're not impossible to deal with. Chapter 182, Chapter 123, Beast Tide Eruption Bloody Battle, /2. You stay here first, I'll be back soon. Jiang Fan's eyes revealed a trace of cold light. His spiritual sense enveloped the entire valley. This time, more than 100 demon beasts had intruded into the valley. However, the truly threatening ones were only the 7 or 8 Tier 1 late-stage demon beasts. If these few demon beasts were dealt with, then the beast invasion would naturally resolve itself. It is not yet a moment of life and death. Husband, be careful. Su Weiwei nodded. She was very aware of her husband's strength, one of the top among all the loose cultivators in the valley, even though her husband was only at the 6th layer Qi cultivation. But in terms of actual strength, even cultivators of the 7th and 8th layers of Qi cultivation might not be able to defeat her husband. As long as her husband was careful, these demon beasts would not be able to harm her man. Swish. With these words, Jiang Fan's figure flickered, using the power of a light body talisman to silently and stealthily move outside. At the same time, he also used the power of a conceal breath talisman to suppress his presence, reducing his sense of existence. It was as if he had transformed into a phantom in the night. Even those ferocious demon beasts couldn't detect his presence. Tusk, worthy of a great success level conceal breath talisman. Once activated, it can lower one's presence. This is simply a secret assassination technique. Even these demon beasts can't sense my existence. In this way, I can completely assassinate them, avoiding direct confrontation. Jiang Fan's eyes revealed a glint of light. He thought the current situation was indeed very favorable for him. Rumble ~. At this moment, the entire valley was in ruins, houses collapsed. Over 100 demon beasts rampaged. Many loose cultivators retreated in defeat, suffering heavy casualties. The ground was littered with bodies and blood. It's over, there are just too many demon beasts, we can't beat them. Let's run, we need to escape quickly, staying here is a dead end. How can we escape? We've long been surrounded by demon beasts. If we want to live, we can only fight to the death. Many loose cultivators were incredibly desperate, facing so many demon beasts, they had almost no power to resist. Especially the 7 or 8 Tier 1 late-stage demon beasts. Their thick skin and tough flesh could withstand magic attacks completely. The loose cultivators' attacks landed on them, like scratching an itch. So when the beasts charged slightly, the loose cultivators' formations fell apart, not even close to being a match. If this continued, they would surely be annihilated. Moreover, even if they wanted to escape now, it was impossible. A large number of demon beasts surrounding them made escape impossible. Boom ~. Just when these loose cultivators were in utter despair, suddenly, an invisible ripple appeared in the air, instantly enveloping the 7 or 8 Tier 1 late-stage demon beasts on the scene. Immediately, the bodies of these demon beasts froze, unable to move. They let out terrified roars, seemingly aware of the impending crisis of death. Their demonic power erupted frantically, trying to break free from the bindings, but to no avail. What's going on? Why are these demon beasts suddenly not moving? It's like they've been hit by a body-stabilizing talisman. Some loose cultivator immediately noticed the strangeness of this group of demon beasts. They sensed an invisible wind spiritual power enveloping these demon beasts, like invisible chains binding their bodies, making it impossible for them to break free. It was like a beast trapped by shackles. And this magic was somewhat similar to a body-stabilizing talisman. The problem was, where could an ordinary body-stabilizing talisman have this level of restraint? But before they could discern what had happened, suddenly in midair, golden lights appeared, filled with a strong metallic aura, slicing through the night sky, exuding endless sharpness. It was as if an unparalleled sword cultivator had struck, sword chi rampant, sweeping all before it. Thump, thump, thump. In the next second, golden light descended upon this group of demon beasts, creating a terrifying piercing force and destructive power. This group of demon beasts had no power to resist. In just an instant, their heads and bodies were pierced through, bleeding profusely. Each one couldn't help but let out a heart-wrenching scream. However, the scream didn't last long. Soon they fell to the ground, completely losing the breath of life. These demon beasts' eyes were wide open, obviously dead with grievances. What? In just an instant, those Tier 1 late-stage demon beasts are dead. The numerous loose cultivators were dumbfounded, looking at the scene before them in disbelief. They had been utterly despairing, prepared to face death. Who could have imagined that suddenly, streaks of golden light would strike out like flying swords from the heavens? Instantly, it slaughtered 7 or 8 Tier 1 late-stage demon beasts. Such a sudden event left every loose cultivator stunned, completely unaware of what had happened. Swoosh! At that moment, a figure appeared in front of these demon beast corpses, emanating overwhelming aura, enveloping the entire area like an ancient beast, making the many loose cultivators tremble in fear. What are you still standing here for? Finish off all the demon beasts that have invaded here. The mysterious figure spoke, issuing commands to the many loose cultivators. But not a single loose cultivator dared to defy. After all, the corpses of 7 or 8 demon beasts were proof enough of this mysterious cultivator's power. In the cultivation realm, the strong are revered, and the weak have no rights. Yes, Senior. We will go and kill those demon beasts now. Nonetheless, the numerous loose cultivators were filled with immense joy, for the sudden appearance of such a top cultivator brought them hope, freeing them from despair. With the loss of 7 or 8 leaders, this group of demon beasts posed no threat anymore. One could say, now was the time to beat a falling dog. If you miss this village, there won't be another tavern. Boom tilde tilde. Suddenly, the numerous loose cultivators were hugely invigorated, launching a counterattack against those demon beasts. No doubt the great success level body-stabilizing talisman and golden light talisman have tremendous power. Especially when the power of the two talismans is combined, it's simply a killing skill. The enemy usually doesn't even know what's happening before being taken down. The mysterious figure appearing here was Jiang Fan. He altered his appearance and aura, showing up before the many loose cultivators. With just one move, he completely turned the tide of the battle, allowing the human cultivators to gain the upper hand, driving the demon beasts to retreat step by step. These corpses of Tier 1 late-stage demon beasts shouldn't be wasted. Thinking of this, Jiang Fan acted, using the power of the golden light talisman, seemingly transforming into golden light swords, slicing through these demon beast corpses. Although these demon beast corpses were massive, each weighing at least several hundred kilograms. Fortunately, he had many storage bags. Having previously defeated some tribulation cultivators, he had quite a few storage bags on him. Each storage bag contained at least a dozen or 20 cubic meters. So packing away 7 or 8 Tier 1 late-stage demon beast corpses was not a problem at all. This battle lasted the entire night. The slaughter was so intense, it was like rivers of blood flowed. The ground became pitted, with sparks flying everywhere. Initially, the loose cultivators were in full retreat, disarrayed beyond hope. They were almost completely slaughtered by the demon beasts, becoming food within their stomachs. But Jiang Fan suddenly acted, slaying 7 or 8 Tier 1 late-stage demon beasts, taking down the leaders of this group of demon beasts, thus rendering them leaderless, which in turn caused the demon beasts to become chaotic, losing their backbone, eventually being besieged by the loose cultivators. Obviously, Jiang Fan did not simply stop there. He occasionally concealed himself, striking from the shadows, eliminating some powerful demon beasts, thus minimizing the casualty rate of the loose cultivator to the greatest extent. This also hugely boosted the morale of the loose cultivators, never having fought such an easy battle before. Often a streak of golden light would come, and the demon beast would die on the spot. After one night of fierce fighting, the entire valley saw as many as 168 demon beasts perish. Of course, the loose cultivators suffered heavy losses too. The wooden houses were completely destroyed, and some loose cultivators also perished at the hands of the demon beasts. But regardless, the vast majority of loose cultivators survived. We survived, we survived. Seeing the sun rise, with no demon beast alive in the valley, the many surviving loose cultivators were disheveled and filthy, crying tears of joy, feeling endless relief. They had never felt so fulfilled in a day. It was simply unprecedented. Chapter 183. Chapter 124. Sixth grade opportunity, subsequent cultivation technique of the soaring snake technique. It was truly devastating. A loose cultivator looked at the scene in the valley, where originally wooden houses rose up, but after last night's assault by demon beasts, nearly over half were destroyed. The ground was littered with potholes and astonishing cracks. The earth was further stained with pools of blood. It seemed as if the ground had been dyed red, the air filled with a bloody scent. Almost every loose cultivator sustained injury. But no matter what, they survived, and did not become the demon beast's meal. Fortunately, a senior intervened and helped us slay 7 or 8 demon beasts at the Tier 1 late stage. Without the senior, we'd have been doomed for sure. Someone expressed immense relief. He was well aware just how perilous last night's situation was. Over 100 demon beasts rushed into the valley, creating havoc that led to numerous loose cultivators' deaths. If not for the mysterious senior's intervention, they wouldn't know how many of the cultivators present could have survived. Thus, every loose cultivator there was extremely grateful to the mysterious senior. The senior was undoubtedly their savior. But where did that senior go? Why haven't we seen any trace of them? That mysterious senior took away the corpses of the 7 or 8 Tier 1 late-stage demon beasts and left quietly, probably to avoid revealing their identity. What a pity. I intended to thank them in person, but didn't expect they would leave so soon. Yet that is the senior's choice. We should not force them. Right, seniors always have their own difficulties. Being grateful is enough. The crowd discussed fervently. They naturally wished to thank the mysterious senior face to face. Unfortunately, the senior seemed unwilling to reveal their true identity. After defeating the demon beasts, they left quietly. Trying to trace their whereabouts was virtually an impossible task, though we indeed suffered quite a heavy loss this time. However, having eliminated so many demon beasts in one go, we won't lack food throughout the entire winter. Not only won't we lack food, but there will be plenty left over. The claws, scales, and skin of these demon beasts are all valuable. We've made quite a profit this time. More importantly, with so many demon beasts dead in the valley, this place will become a forbidden area for them, so they likely won't dare to launch a second attack anytime soon. Does that mean for the time being, we are completely safe? Everyone was overjoyed. They had originally worried about facing beast waves before Xian Forest Market was constructed, and then dying under the beast's attacks. Yet after last night's battle, the valley where they dwelled was, ironically, safer. This meant they didn't need to leave here temporarily. Even leveraging this battle, they gained a wealth of demon beast corpses, a substantial amount of food. Almost everyone made quite a profit. In some sense, this was considered a considerable gain. The only pity was the loose cultivators who died under the demon beasts. But this was an unavoidable circumstance. Since they decided to come to the 10,000 Beasts mountain range seeking immortality and enlightenment, they envisioned a day like this. Death and sacrifice have become routine in the 10,000 Beasts mountain range. Many loose cultivators have already become utterly numb to such events. All right, let's stop talking so much. Let's quickly commence the rebuilding work. With wood cabins destroyed like this, we need to rebuild them. And the sanitation here needs thorough cleaning. Even these demon beasts need to be completely dissected, divided into different parts. Immediately, a loose cultivator shouted. Though they had experienced a fierce battle and were extremely exhausted, the post-war reconstruction work that followed would be equally overwhelming. Now was definitely not the time to rest. At this moment in Fan Wei's household, they hid in the basement, trembling throughout the night. Finally, leaving the basement in the morning. Old Fan, did we survive? His wife Li Zhou was overwhelmed with joy. Originally, she thought that facing the attack of so many demon beasts, her family was almost certainly doomed. But who would have thought fortunes changed? An enigmatic cultivator suddenly appeared, went on a killing spree, and eliminated numerous demon beasts, saving the entire valley. An ordinary cultivator family like hers also survived through this calamity. This made her feel exceptionally happy, experiencing the feeling of escape from peril. Yes, we indeed survived. Luckily, last night a mysterious cultivator appeared. The individual intervened directly, slaying 7 or 8 demon beasts at the Tier 1 late stage, as well as many demon beasts at the Tier 1 early stage and middle stage. With their own might, they reversed the battlefield situation. Among our loose cultivators, there are hidden talents indeed. Even those sect disciples might not be any better, Fan Wei said with much emotion. Last night, he didn't witness the mysterious cultivator's direct intervention. He merely saw a golden light shoot out, splitting the night sky, resulting in a demon beast being instantaneously blown up, its body pierced through, dying right away. It was almost like an unparalleled sword cultivator. No matter how formidable the demon beast, none could stop that golden light. Honestly speaking, he felt such a figure ought to be considered a true cultivator. Chapter 184. Chapter 124. 6th grade opportunity, obtaining the subsequent cultivation technique of the soaring snake technique /2. As for those loose cultivators like them, they are just small figures struggling to survive. Completely insignificant. By the way, how are fellow Taoist Jiang and his wife? Are they all right? Wife Li Zhou couldn't help but ask. They're fine, we're all fine, and they're even better. In fact, they just gave us some demon beast meat. Overall, though the demon beasts attacked fiercely last night, our casualty rate wasn't very high. It was mostly just some unlucky loose cultivators living on the outskirts who were killed by the demon beasts. Fan Wei smiled slightly. He had already gone to check on Jiang Fan and his wife. After all, they were rare neighbors, so naturally, he needed to confirm whether they were alive or dead. Old Fan, your decision yesterday was correct. If we had really left the valley, it might have been a dead end. Luckily, we stayed. Wife Li Zhou felt a sense of relief. If they had really fled the valley, they might have been surrounded and killed by the demon beasts. Given their strength, they would most likely have become food for the beasts. It's okay, after this tribulation, our future life will surely improve a lot. We killed so many demon beasts this time. Everyone can get plenty of demon beast meat. We can easily get through this winter. Fan Wei was overjoyed, feeling a glimmer of hope for the future life. At this moment in Jiang Fan's home. Boom tilde tilde. At this time, a message entered deep into Jiang Fan's consciousness. After a fierce battle, through a life-and-death struggle, you personally eradicated a large number of demon beasts, overcoming a tribulation of life and death, gaining 3,000 luck points and a 6th grade opportunity. What? Upon sensing this message, Jiang Fan's eyes immediately sparkled, feeling very excited. Initially, he had consumed many luck points to enhance the skill level of his life talisman. Now suddenly gaining so much, it was like timely help. If you add the previous luck points, then he now had a total of 5,560 luck points. Of course, more importantly, he received a 6th grade opportunity. It's known that the previous few 6th grade opportunities brought him great benefits. He didn't know what this 6th grade opportunity would be. Thunk. Jiang Fan felt a movement in his heart and immediately clicked on the opportunity light spot. Instantly, a message appeared. Go to the northeast direction 356 meters away to find a 6th grade opportunity beneath a ruined wooden house. What? Upon sensing this message, Jiang Fan was also a bit surprised, not expecting the 6th grade opportunity to be so close. Could it be that the 6th grade opportunity came from those loose cultivators? However, this wasn't impossible. With so many loose cultivators gathered here, it's only normal for someone to have a 6th grade opportunity hidden on them. Swoosh. At this thought, Jiang Fan did not hesitate and immediately left his home. After all, the 6th grade opportunity is very important, and if missed, it might not be obtained again. He utilized the power of the Conceal Breath Talisman to hide his presence and reduce his sense of existence. He moved like a ghost, arriving at the place of the 6th grade opportunity in the blink of an eye. Then he immediately saw a wooden house collapsed, turned into ruins. The ground was covered with bloodstains. Beneath the ruins, a corpse was buried. Evidently, this nameless loose cultivator was very unlucky, perishing under demon beasts last night. There were actually many similar loose cultivators, and this one was not unique. Is this the 6th grade opportunity? Immediately, Jiang Fan noticed a storage bag on the nameless corpse and took it down with a wave of his hand. He didn't have the time to check what treasures were hidden inside the storage bag and quickly left the place. At this time, some loose cultivators approached in the distance, cursing as if searching for treasures. However, these loose cultivators did not notice Jiang Fan. Each of them subconsciously overlooked Jiang Fan's presence, as if he were invisible. This is the great success level conceal breath talisman, capable of reducing one's sense of presence. Even standing in front of so many people, everyone automatically ignored him, considering him a stone of nature. Soon, Jiang Fan returned to his home silently. It was only then that he had the leisure to open the storage bag to see what treasures were hidden inside. Why is it so poor? Jiang Fan blinked as he opened the storage bag and found that there were only a few spirit stones inside, and not many elixirs, just some talismans, a healing elixir and food. It didn't seem like a sixth-grade opportunity at all. But he quickly noticed a mysterious jade scroll inside the storage bag. This mysterious jade scroll was neither gold nor copper nor iron, with an unknown material, extremely miraculous. Without a doubt, if there was a sixth-grade opportunity in the storage bag, it could only be this mysterious jade scroll. Thunk! In an instant, Jiang Fan's spiritual sense penetrated into it. Immediately, a massive stream of information seeped from the jade scroll, presenting densely packed mysterious paintings. It seemed as if an ancient divine beast appeared in front of him. It was soaring through clouds and mist, like a divine dragon. Soaring snake. This is the ancient divine beast soaring snake. No way, this is the Qi cultivation chapter and foundation establishment chapter of the soaring snake technique. Jiang Fan's pupils constricted with disbelief. He completely didn't expect to obtain the follow-up chapters of the soaring snake technique. After all, even the primordial talisman sect, after such a long time, only acquired the introduction. It merely helped mortals, entering the path through martial arts, nurturing spirit roots. But now, he actually obtained the follow-up cultivation techniques of the soaring snake technique from an unknown Qi cultivation stage cultivator, allowing him to cultivate up to the foundation establishment realm. Undoubtedly, this is a body-tempering technique, an ancient body-tempering divine skill, and infinitely marvelous. Even the primordial talisman sect recorded this technique. It goes to show the incredible aspects of this technique, possibly no less profound than the mixed element talisman scripture. Is this the power of destiny? Jiang Fan couldn't help but clench his fists. He felt that the destiny would guide him to more chapters of the soaring snake technique in the future. This was a lead by destiny. Though the primordial talisman sect couldn't obtain the complete soaring snake technique, he might be able to, even if the technique was dispersed everywhere. However, with the guidance of destiny, he might truly acquire the complete chapters in the future. Is this fate encouraging me to follow the path of a body cultivator? However, for a cultivator, mastering more power is indeed beneficial. A strong physique would certainly provide more advantages for a cultivator. At least it would reduce some of one's weaknesses. Jiang Fan touched his chin. He carefully understood the Qi cultivation chapter and foundation establishment chapter of the soaring snake technique. Then he immediately realized why this nameless loose cultivator, despite obtaining the mysterious jade scroll, couldn't cultivate it, because he lacked the introduction. Without the introduction, the subsequent chapters couldn't be cultivated at all. Thus, this nameless loose cultivator only obtained a non-cultivable technique. It was of no use at all. Only with him did this technique find its purpose. Although it's the Qi cultivation chapter and foundation establishment chapter, overall, it's at the level of refined flesh and skin tempering. But this isn't the refined flesh and skin tempering of mortals, but of cultivators. If there's any difference, it's that mortal cultivation entails using the methods of inhalation to absorb the mysterious substances of heaven and earth to temper the physique, leading to a certain degree of bodily evolution. But the human body has limits. No matter how powerful a mortal body is, it's still just mortal and far from comparably to a real divine beast. However, the soaring snake technique is an ultimate technique that helps human cultivators evolve to possess an extraordinary body, a divine beast body. Once successfully cultivated, it not only bestows divine beast-like power but also divine beast-like lifespan, completely shattering the lifespan limit of human cultivators. This is why the soaring snake technique is so powerful and precious. Jiang Fan clenched his fists, feeling incredibly excited.